Jnanam iti proktam agyanam yad atonyata.
Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home, and the rest, even-mindedness and pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self realization and philosophical research for the absolute truth.
Search,
All the
philosophical search.
philosophical search for the absolute truth, all these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, wherever they be is ignorance.
Sridham, can you go a little bit slower if possible?
Gyayam yata pravakshami yajgat vamritamashunut anadi matparam brahma nasatan nasaduchyate.
I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal. Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world.
Sarvataha panipadam tat sarvatoshi shiromukha sarvataha shrutimaloke sarvam avritya tishtati.
Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads, and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the Supersoul exists, pervading everything.
Sarvendriya gunabhasam sarvendriya vivarjitam asaktam sarvabhritcheva nirgunam guna prakritircha.
The Supersoul is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the modes of nature. At the same time, he is the master of all the modes of nature.
Behir antashcha bhutanam acharam charamevacha sukshmatvat tad avigyayam durastam kantike chatat.
The supreme truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and the non-moving, because he is subtle. He is beyond the power of the material senses to see or know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all.
Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam eva chastitam bhutabhartir cha tajgayam grasishnu prabha vishnu cha.
Although the superstar appears to be divided among all beings, he is never divided. He is situated as one. Though he is the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all.
Jyotisham apita jyotish tamasaha paramuchyate jnanam gyayam jnana gamyam hidi sarvasya vishtitam.
He is the source of light in all luminous objects. Yet he is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledge, he is the object of knowledge, and he is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart.
Iti shetram tata jnanam gyayam koktam samastataha madbhakta etad vigyaya madbhavayo papadyate.
Thus, the field of activities, the body, knowledge, and the knowable, have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain to my nature.
Thank you, Sridham. Thank you, Yash, for reciting the 19 verses of this chapter. So, welcome to those who have just joined us this evening in chat. So, I'm just going to go to our today's text. So, here's my first question for this evening. What was the text covered yesterday? Anybody?
He's text. The last line was he is the source of the three modes of material nature or material nature.
He's the master. That's right. Text 15 was covered yesterday. Who was that? Sorry.
Rupa.
Rupa Mataji, thank you very much.
Okay.
So yes, text 15 was covered yesterday, and by mistake, on the chat I sent text 18 today, but obviously we will be covering text 16 and not 18. So let's go to text 16. Bahir anantascha bhutanam acharam charame vacha sukshamatva tad avikyayam durastam chantike chatat. Translation: The supreme truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and non-moving. Because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Um, I know it's a small purport. I'm wondering if I should read it. Maybe Luke Prabhu, thank you for joining us today. Would you like to read the purport of this verse, Luke Prabhu? You can just unmute yourself and just read the purport if you're available. You're still unmuted, Luke Prabhu. Okay. While Luke Prabhu is trying to work it out, maybe we can have Prabhuta Mataji. Would you like to read the purport?
Hare Krishna, so I was on the
Oh,
phone.
there we go, Luke Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Do you need me to do something? So I was on the phone.
Yeah, if you are you able to see the screen? Can you read this purport, one paragraph purport too for us?
Yeah, I'll read that for you. Hold on one second.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. So is it translation and the purport?
Just a purport.
Oh, okay. Yeah, in Vedic literature, we understand that Narayana, the Supreme Person, is residing both outside and inside of every living entity. He is present in both the spiritual and material worlds. Although he is far, far away, still he is near to us. These are the statements of the Vedic literature. Ashino Duram Rajati Shayano Yati Sarvata from the Katha Upanishad 1.2.21. And because he is always engaged in transcendental bliss, we cannot understand how he is enjoying his full opulence. We cannot see or understand with these material senses. Therefore, in the Vedic language, it is said that to understand him, our material mind and senses cannot act. But one who has purified his mind and senses by practicing Krishna consciousness in devotional service can see him constantly.
Thank you so much. Oh,
Sorry, it is confirmed in Brahma Samhita that the devotee who has developed love for the Supreme God cannot see him always without cessation. And it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 11.54 that he can be seen and understood only by devotional service. Bhaktya Tvav Anyaya Sakyaha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Luke Prabhu. Thank you. What a beautiful and illuminating purport by Srila Prabhupada as always. So let me share my screen with all of you. Okay. So in this particular verse and the purport, the theme is that Super Soul is all reconciling. So we understand from this particular text that the supreme truth is outside and inside of the living beings. And what reference is given for the Vedic literature explains that Narayan is residing both outside and inside of every living entity, present in both the spiritual world and the material world, and he is far away but also near. So here, just before we begin, Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubheva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in this particular text, we learn how the Lord is situated outside and inside of all living beings. So we understand that Lord Narayan is also situated in our heart in the form of Paramatma. But how do we see Lord outside? Let's have a little bit of a conversation on this. Anybody would like to suggest how you would see the Lord outside, apart from experiencing the Lord sitting inside our heart in the form of Paramatma?
Hare Krishna
Outside.
Prabhuji.
Sorry.
It's like
Yes.
Krishna says, I am the taste of water, I am the prana, the life air, I am the sun and the moon. The sun and the moon are my eyes. So, like that, all creation, Krishna is saying, I am. So, like
Yeah.
that.
Thank you. So we understand from the Vibhuti Yoga chapter that how Lord is manifested in this material world, and He's the best of best. He's the taste of the water. He's the light of the sun. He is the um, lion among the animals. And so we see the Lord being represented everywhere. When we see the beautiful uh, forest, when we see the beautiful manifestation of material nature, actually it is explained by the Shastras and our Acharyas that this world has nothing but Lord Krishna. And one has to come to that vision in order to be able to clearly see Lord Krishna everywhere. It is a very high level or evolved level of vision one needs to have in his or her consciousness. And the Lord is present in both the spiritual world and the material world. So let's see what does it mean when of course we know the Lord is present in the spiritual world, but how do we see that the Lord is also present in the material world? Any comments on that?
As a super soul.
Okay, yeah, I mean, super soul is obviously inside our heart, but he was present in the spiritual world and in the material world. So we covered an element of the Lord is covered present in the, by Rupa Mataji said he is present in form of various other manifestation. But what is the other ways of seeing the Lord who's also situated in the spiritual world and in the material world?
The deity form of Krishna.
Yes, thank you so much, Mataji. So the Lord is also present in the Archa Vigraha form, in like Shishi Radha Gokulananda, Shishi Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman, Shishi Gaurnitai. So the deity form is a representation of the same Lord who's situated in the beautiful Golok Vrindavan. So it is that same Sham Sundar who's residing eternally in Golok Vrindavan, who's also residing here in Radha Gokulanand Mandir at Bhaktivedanta Manor. And our acharyas explain, Srila Sanatan Goswami also writes about it in Sandarbhas, that when a devotee installs a deity, a pure devotee, then the potency, I mean, of course, it's the Lord, but because Srila Prabhupada has personally installed Shri Shri Radha Gokulanand and Shri Shri Radha Landaneshwar, of course, we feel that connection, we feel that love, because a pure devotee of the Lord was installing his Ishtadev, Shri Shri Radha Gokulanand, Radha Landaneshwar. So that devotee has that beautiful connection with the deities, and everybody else who then comes to that place can also feel that presence of the Lord in the form of the deities. So that is definitely one way of seeing the form. The other way of seeing the Lord being present is through his instruction, like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Because anything which is connected to the Lord, as in connection with the Lord, is not different to the Lord, including his own holy name. So Golokera Prema Dhana Hari Nam Sankirtan. So the holy name of the Lord, although it is coming directly, although it is in the material world, but it's not of the material world. So I hope you're with me. Although the holy name is in the material world, but it's not of the material world. So it is directly coming from the spiritual realm, transcending into the material world, giving us the access to be able to chant this holy name. And in that sense, the Lord is also available in the material world in his beautiful transcendental holy names. And now he's far away, but also near. So, okay, we understand the Lord is far. He's situated in the Golok Vrindavan Dham. Now, the Lord is also near to us, as I previously mentioned, in the form of his instruction, but more importantly, right in our heart, situated as Paramatma and Super Soul. So we can experience the presence of the Lord even while we are moving around in this material world. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Ye yathamam prapadayante tam seva bhajami aham, that as one surrenders unto me, I reward them accordingly. So the reason why Lord is saying that is because to the degree we want to love, to the degree we want to serve, to the degree we want to care, to the degree we want to um, pray, and to the degree we want to have a mood of seeing the Lord, to that degree we will experience the closeness of Lord Krishna with us, actually. So today I'm going to read something from for all of us, including my own self, which is quite appropriate to this topic. And it is such an amazing revelation which I read this morning from the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the 29th chapter, previous to that chapter, Lord Krishna was explaining to his pure devotee Uddhava about yogas and different kind of ways of after speaking the Avanti Brahmana story, different ways of approaching him. And Uddhava said, my dear Lord, it's pretty difficult for me. My mind is not at all in one place. So tell me something which I can easily do. And we will hear from Lord some beautiful verses. And I can assure you that your life will not be the same after hearing those verses, which we will have a look in a minute. The second aspect of this particular verse is because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of material senses to see or to know him. So, what does that mean? It means the material mind and senses cannot understand him. With our current state of our consciousness, if somebody challenges us that, can you see God? Well, we cannot see the God because we are still contaminated. But you can say, I'm trying to see the God, I'm learning to see the God. We know the famous pastime when Prabhupada was giving a class and one gentleman got up right in the middle and he said, can you see God? Prabhupada said, please sit down. He said again, can you see God? Prabhupada said, please sit down. He said, can you see God? And Prabhupada said, I can't see it because you're standing in between, because there were deities on the other side. So Srila Prabhupada was later on, it was, Prabhupada mentioned that in order for us to see the Lord, our eyes have to be ointed with that love. Premanjana Churito Bhakti Vilochanena. In the Brahma Samhita, it is explained that only when our eyes are ointed with the love, which comes through the practice of regulative principles, Vaidhi Bhakti, and gradually rising up to the topmost level of Raganuga Bhakti, at that level we will be able to see the same Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda or Shri Shri Radha Shamsundar manifesting in front of us. So it's only possible if our senses are purified. And what does it mean for our senses to be purified? It is again, as I just quoted the verse, it is to be able to engage our body, mind, speech, and all those senses. See for our eyes, seeing the beautiful form of the Lord, our tongue for chanting the holy name and tasting Krishna Prasadam, our legs to be able to walk up to Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Dham at Bhaktivedanta Manor, or Vrindavan Dham or Mayapur Dham, which are really rare in this age, especially this year. So that way, our nose in smelling the flowers or the tulsi leaves or the incense offered to the Lord, that brings the perfection of our material senses which are given to us in this body. That's why Krishna described the knowable in the text 13.16 as avigyam. Unknowable indicates that the super soul cannot be understood by material senses. Only by hearing with devotion from transcendental sources can he be understood. So one very important point I want to make here, yes, Paramatma is situated in our heart. So it is situated in every living entity. But we will only be able to experience the presence of Paramatma or the dictations by Paramatma to the degree we have developed the devotion towards the Lord. Like sometimes we hear from the devotees, you know, oh, Prabhu, I was going through a lot of pain. And then the devotee says, why don't you go and read this particular chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam? So in that spirit, when you approach Srimad Bhagavatam and read and you feel there was a revelation in your heart or you felt, oh, this is exactly what I needed. So in some cases, it is said yours, the super soul sitting in that devotee's heart and your heart is exactly the same. So he understands what's happening. So sometimes the super soul can also speak, like I was speaking to Vrindavan Chand Prabhu. And like everybody else, I go through my ups and downs and I have my challenges. And I spoke to Vrindavan Chand Prabhu and said, Prabhu, what do you think of this? And Vrindavan Chand Prabhu said, read this particular chapter, Divya Naam. And then when I read the chapter, I immediately felt that today the super soul spoke from, or my spiritual master, through the words of Vrindavan Chand Prabhu. So like this, there are many occasions in our life this happens, and especially all of you at some point in your life would have experienced that you're trying to do something, trying to find something, but you're having difficulties to, or you're thinking of something. Let's say sometimes it happens, like often it happens but that's also transcendental. But, like you leave home to go to lunch prasadam at somebody's house. And you're talking on the way, I wish today in prasadam, if palak paneer would have been there, it would be nice. Do you know, Vindarika, what this Prabhu is making or Mataji is making when we go to their house? I have no idea. And then you get to, I don't know, let's all go to, I don't know, some devotee's house. We'll all go to Hema Mataji's house, for example. We go to her house and Mataji is cooking. She's offered the bhoga, prasadam comes out and it's palak paneer. And I'm like, whoa, that was so much like Super Soul. It's actually not so much like Super Soul, but it could be. It could be. It's difficult to comprehend. But sometimes things like these happen, especially in the spiritual world. Of course, it happens in the material world, but it happens in the spiritual world. That means there is a message of Krishna which he's trying to tell us. There is a plan of Krishna which he's trying to tell us. Today I was hearing His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, and Maharaj was saying in this lecture that the reason we are not able to see the plan of Lord Krishna when difficulties face us is because we do not have enough faith in the Lord. He gave the example of Prahlad Maharaj. He was able to see the Lord even while he was thrown from a cliff, even when he was tampered under an elephant, even while he was put in the fire along with his sister. Because Prahlad Maharaj was a surrendered soul, he was convinced that Rakhe Krishna Mare Krishna Rakhe Kaun. That if Krishna wants to protect me, nobody can kill me. And if Krishna wants to kill me, then nobody can save me. Pandavas went through so much of difficulties in the forest, in the exile. Did Lord Krishna appear to them just like that? No, they had to go through so much. So similarly, Maharaj was giving such an important lesson. He said, sometimes we want to take Krishna consciousness very cheaply and wants to see the Lord without having to go through or pay the pain of that suffering which we are meant to. So it is very important. And similarly, we will see in these beautiful verses, which I'm going to see. Let's see how many verses we can. Also tonight, because on Saturday, tomorrow, we have His Holiness Sachinandan Maharaj giving the class in the evening. We will be having our chat session tomorrow at 3:15. So I want to, today we will have Damodar Astakam as well. But I definitely want to read these verses. Are you all wanting to hear what Lord Krishna said to Uddhava, which really changed my consciousness for sure today?
Please, please,
Yes,
Divya,
please.
please,
Yes,
yes,
Prabhuji,
please.
go ahead. Yes, please.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, I'm glad that I'm not the only one. You're all interested. That's very helpful. Thank you very much. Okay. This chapter is entitled Bhakti Yoga. Let me see if I can bring it up on Veda base so you can see it from your eyes and we can follow it that way. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. I've got the place here. Here we are. So the chapter is entitled Bhakti Yoga. There are a couple of purports which I want to highlight and read. So let's have a nice sort of reading of these verses. As keeping the time, if you don't mind, I'm going to read some of these verses because in the process of calling out names, it could take us a bit longer. But let's start. So I'll miss some text, but we'll read some. So here in the text one of this chapter entitled Bhakti Yoga, Sri Uddhava said, "My dear Lord Achyuta, I fear that the method of yoga described by you is very difficult for one who cannot control his mind. Therefore, please explain to me in simple terms how someone can more easily execute it. Just so that I know that I'm not alone in this world. Is there anybody who faces difficulties sometimes with the mind? You can either put your hands up or say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
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 Krishna.
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 Hare
Oh,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
okay, so
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so all of
Hare
us are in the
Krishna.
same boat. Not bad, not bad. Most of us are at least. Okay, wonderful. So let's see now what Lord is going to tell us, Anudava. Oh, lotus-eyed Lord, generally those yogis who try to steady the mind experience frustration because of their inability to perfect the state of trance. Thus, they vary in their attempt to bring the mind under control. Therefore, O lotus-eyed Lord of the universe, swan-like men happily take shelter of your lotus feet, the source of all transcendental ecstasy. But those who take pride in their accomplishments in yoga and karma fail to take shelter of you and are defeated by your illusory energy. My dear infallible Lord, it is not very astonishing that you intimately approach your servants who have taken exclusive shelter of you. After all, during your appearance as Lord Ramachandra, even while great demigods like Brahma were weighing to place the effulgent tips of their helmets upon the cushion where your lotus feet rested, you displayed special affection for monkeys such as Hanuman because they had taken exclusive shelter of you. So this is the point, I was really meditating on what Radhanath Maharaj was trying to say, that the Lord is accessible to the degree we are devoted to the Lord. Here, look at the beautiful prayer of Uddhava, who's saying that during your appearance as Lord Ramachandra, even Brahmaji was trying to put his head to your feet, but you couldn't care a fig. But you cared much more for a generation of the monkeys, or among those monkeys, the supreme most, Hanuman, and you gave full shelter to them, my Lord. And then he goes on to say, who then could dare reject you, the very soul, the most dear object of worship and the supreme Lord of all? You have give all possible perfections to the devotees who take shelter of you. Who could be so ungrateful knowing that the benefits you bestow? Who would reject you and accept something for the sake of material enjoyment which simply leads to forgetfulness of you? And what lack is there for us who are engaged in the service of the dust of your lotus feet? I mean, these prayers, when I sat to read this, I finished the entire chapter. I mean, the purports are not very long, but it was an exhilarating experience having going through these verses after verses. So my humble recommendation to all of you is that, especially in this month of Kartik, and among all the months, the month of Kartik is such an important month. And of all the days of the month of Kartik, if there are any days which are where we can go even deeper in our devotion, is the Bhisham Panchak, both from our material austerity, but more importantly, to be able to do Shastra Adhyan, to read scriptures. So I beg all of you that do what it takes tomorrow to set aside 45 minutes to read this chapter, and I can assure you that your life will never be the same. It is the 11th chapter, 11th canto, 29th chapter. It will take you 45 minutes with purport to the verse, but in the process of reading it, your hairs will stand on the end when you see the Lord being so kind and merciful, wanting to reciprocate us with us so much. So let's see what the Lord has to say here. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, yes, I shall describe you the principle of devotion to me, by executing which a mortal human being will conquer unconquerable death. Always remembering me, one should perform all his duties for me without becoming impetus. With mind and intelligence offered to me, one should fix his mind in attraction to my devotional service. So the reason we are talking about it in relation to our text, that how do we see the Lord near to us? So here Uddhava is asking he's giving us a benediction by asking this question. He's a pure devotee of the Lord, situated in a beautiful relationship with the Lord in spiritual world. Why does he have to ask the question? He's asking this question for our benefit, so we can get an amazing insight into the love and the affection the Lord carries for us as jivas. I want to go to this purport and see there was something very lightning in this purport here. Yeah. It is okay. Let's read the whole purport. The words Mad Dharmatma Manorati mean that all of one's love and affection should be devoted to pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is not indicated here that one should try to relish selfish satisfaction in devotional service, but rather one should be attracted to the Lord's own satisfaction, which one achieves by faithfully executing the order of a bona fide spiritual master coming in the disciplic succession from Lord Krishna himself. Attachment to one's own satisfaction, even within devotional service, is materialistic, whereas the attachment to the satisfaction of the Lord is pure spiritual emotion. If you all do not mind, I'm going to repeat these two profound lines once again. Where is it? Yeah. When one achieves by faithfully, sorry, it is not indicated here that one should try to relish selfish satisfaction in devotional service, but rather one should be attracted to the Lord's own satisfaction, which one achieves by faithfully executing the order of a bona fide spiritual master coming in disciplic succession from Lord Krishna himself. Attachment to one's own satisfaction, even within devotional service, is materialistic, whereas the attachment to the satisfaction of the Lord is pure spiritual emotion. Please hang on to these wonderful words in your mind and your heart as much as possible. Here it is being told to us that the way to keep the Lord close to us is to follow the instructions of our spiritual master, take it as a life and soul. Whatever our spiritual master is trying to tell us by his example, by his character, by his vani, by his the way he behaves, those things should become somehow or other we should take those instructions very, very seriously. And you see, this is the magic of one who takes the instruction seriously. I'll give you one line today. When I read it, I was like, my God, this was life-changing line when I read that line. And I'm going to share that very shortly with all of you. So when we follow the instructions of the spiritual master, we are attracting the highest mercy possible in this world for the Lord to give. And if you're not sure, what does that mean? Let's look at an example of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He took that instruction from his mouth so many times that please go abroad and preach this message of English. And while preaching, if you ever get any Lakshmi, please print the books. I'm not fond of having big temple. I'm already having troubles having a temple in big bazaar where people are fighting which room should I stay in. If I could, I would sell every piece of that marble and print books so we can spread this cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that same words, not once, not twice, not three times, at least on 4 occasions, either in the form of the letter or in the form of personal meetings or during the initiation or when Prabhupada met his spiritual master for the first time, if not even in the dreams. Prabhupada took that to his heart. He said, that's my life and soul. No matter what I do in my life, I'm going to follow my spiritual master. Otherwise, how can one at the age of 70 years old with one briefcase in his hand, on the left hand having a lathi or a stick because he's not able to walk properly, can board a Jaladuta to come to West to go through 32 days of the journey and make this happen. The only way it is possible is by the mercy which is coming in our parampara by our spiritual master. And this life of Srila Prabhupada is a great example for all of us that somehow or other, if we can put our faith in the words of our spiritual master, then I can assure you, based on Prabhupada's teaching, actually, let me keep this line, magical line for all of you, and I'm going to show that to all of you very shortly. Let's go look at a couple more verses. Are you still happy for me to carry on a few more verses?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. One should take shelter of the holy places where my saintly devotees reside, and one should be guided by the exemplary activities of my devotees who appear among the demigods, demons, and human beings. Either alone or in public gathering, with singing, dancing, and other exhibitions of royal opulence, one should arrange to celebrate those holy days ceremonies, and festivals set aside specially for my worship. I mean, this chapter is like a panacea of the entire International Society of Krishna Consciousness. That's how I felt when I read this chapter today. With a pure heart, one should see me as a super soul within all beings and also within oneself, to be both unblemished by anything material and also present everywhere, both externally and internally, just like the omnipresent sky. You see the connection about the super soul? We have to see when somebody tells us something. It's very difficult to hear chastisement, criticism, but a humble devotee always looks, yes, these are faults are in me, Prabhu, thank you. I deserve this, please. And somehow or other, the Lord is merciful that you've only, you think you've only said, it's a very high level of consciousness to think like that. It doesn't come, at least it doesn't come in my heart. I can tell you that for sure. But but what does it mean? When we go out and share Krishna consciousness with others, when we tell Prabhuji, please take this Bhagavad Gita, these are the words of God, the person will say, I know all about spirituality. Then if you're really trying to live this particular verse or this idea of respecting super soul, then you tell the person, Prabhu, I'm so fortunate having met a soul like you. And the moment you say that, you are putting that person on Vyasasan. And you can genuinely say that in the spirit, knowing that there is a super soul residing in the body of this person who you're trying to present the book. In that spirit, when you become humble and say, here is a spiritual literature for your benefit, then you put that person on a Vyasasana. And especially by telling him, I'm so glad I've met somebody. If there were more people like in the world like you, this world will be a much better place to live in. And then immediately you will see a change in that person's behavior. 9 out of 10 times the person will say, let me have the Bhagavad Gita, I'm going to gift it to somebody, or let me sponsor some Bhagavad Gitas. So that's the level of consciousness we need to aspire for. Let's move on. Oh, brilliant Uddhava, one who thus views all living entities with the idea that I am present within each of them, and who by taking shelter of this divine knowledge offers due respects to everyone, is considered actually wise. Such a man sees equally the Brahmana and the outcast, the thief, the charitable promoter of the Brahminical culture, the sun and the tiny sparks of fire, the gentle and the cruel. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmani Hasti. That was Hasti. What is that word? Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmani
Brahmane Gavi Hasti.
Hastini Sunicheva Sapakecha Pandita Samatarshina. A learned person sees everybody with an equal vision. He sees that there is a super soul residing in everybody's heart. Look at this beautiful exchange. I mean, which book in the world will give us a glimpse of such the most beautiful conversation between his pure devotee and the Lord? For him who constantly meditates upon my presence within all persons, the bad tendencies of rivalry, envy, and abusiveness, along with false ego, are very quickly destroyed. I'm going to try and go through a few more. Until one has fully developed the ability to see me within all living beings, one must continue to worship me by this process with the activities of his speech, mind, and body. By such transcendental knowledge of all pervading personality of Godhead, one is able to see the absolute truth everywhere, freed thus from all doubts. One gives up fruitive activities. Indeed, I consider this process using one's mind, words, and bodily functions for realizing me within all living beings to be the best possible method of spiritual enlightenment. My dear Uddhava, because I have personally established it, this process of devotional service unto me is transcendental and free from any material motivation. Certainly, a devotee never suffers even the slightest loss by adapting this process. This was my line for this evening, ladies and gentlemen, which I'm so happy to be able to share with you this verse. Let's read the purport. Although great sages and authorities have established various methods of human progress, the Supreme Lord himself has introduced the system of Bhakti Yoga, wherein one directly takes shelter of the Lord in loving service. And here is the line. One who serves the Lord without personal motivation can never be defeated in his progress and will certainly go back home, back to Godhead in the near future. I in my mind, there was some anxiety about some situation. There was some thing I was going through, and many of us go through it. But when you somehow or other come upon a verse or shastra like this, you get such an assurance. I care the fig about what's happening in my life. All I want to do is in my consciousness, somehow or other, we call it forced meditation. I want to bring my mind back, which is terribly disturbed, but somehow or other, I want to situate myself in some form of service to the Lord so that I can be reinstated my original position. Everything else is going to come and go. And unfortunately, my dear friend Vrindavan Chand Prabhu told me the death will take away everything. It's not worth contemplating on things. It's not worth, of course, it takes a realization to come to that level, but at least if theoretically we can read the Shastra and take shelter, I would say that 1 minute, that 1 hour, that one day won in the service of Lord Krishna. And that's the kind of steps we need to take in our life, slowly and gradually. Couple more text, and we're going to end and take some reflections. I have repeatedly spoken this knowledge to you with clear reasoning. Anyone who properly understands it will become free from all doubts and attain liberation. Anyone who fixes his attention on these clear answers to your questions will attain to the eternal confidential goal of Vedas, the supreme absolute truth. Look at the amount of benediction. One who liberally disseminates this knowledge among my devotees is the bestower of the absolute truth, and to him I give him a very own self. Look at the message of the Bhagavad Gita. If you remember in the 18th chapter, what was the Lord saying? And now I want to, one who liberally disseminates this knowledge among my devotees is the bestower of absolute truth, and to him I give my very own self. By sharing Krishna consciousness with others, we are not in a position to judge who's not a devotee, who's not. We need to introduce this process to everybody. And if people are receptive, those are the ones who are going to be devotees. So that's the Lord is referring here. You become, I'm going to be sold to that person. Anyone here who's trying to distribute the Bhagavad Gita or any books of Prabhupada, Krishna is telling directly to Uddhava, I'm completely sold out to that soul. Imagine how reassuring or empowering these words are. He who loudly recites this supreme knowledge, which is the most lucid and purifying, becomes purified day by day, for he reveals me to others with a lamp of transcendental knowledge. Anyone who regularly listens to this knowledge with faith and attention, all the while engaging in my pure devotional service, will never become bound by the reactions of material work. My dear friend Uddhava, have you now completely understood this transcendental knowledge? Are the confusions and lamentation that arose in your mind now dispelled? And let's end on this purport. Sri Uddhava had been bewildered by considering the manifestation of Lord Krishna's own potency to be separate from him. Uddhava lamentation arose because he thought himself separated from Lord Krishna. Actually, Sri Uddhava is an eternally liberated soul, but the Lord placed him in bewilderment and lamentation so that this supreme knowledge of Uddhava Gita could be spoken. Lord Krishna's question here indicates that if Uddhava had not perfectly understood this knowledge, Lord Krishna would have explained the same thing again. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, since Sri Uddhava is the intimate friend of Lord Krishna, the Lord's question here was in friendly, playful spirit. The Lord was well aware of Uddhava's complete enlightenment in Krishna consciousness. Om Tat Sat. I hope you enjoyed those readings of beautiful chapter. And I once again encourage all of you that try to dedicate your 45 minutes tomorrow, and you will swim at least for those 45 minutes in the most happiest moment of your Kartik. That's my assurance when you read it.
Hare Krishna Divya Naam, is that 11:29?
It's 11:29, Palika Mataji. Yes.
11:29. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you. And especially you will feel, as I was reading each verse, not only I was feeling happy and excited, I was feeling, wow, this is Bhisham Panchak at its best, trying to see how the Lord is reciprocating. We may not physically see it, but let's keep doing our task. The Lord is watching us all the time. We heard in Srimad Bhagavatam in the Katha of Ajamil, there are so many witnesses to our activities: the sky, the sun, the water, the demigods. If not anybody else, the most important witness is the super soul in our heart. So don't even for a moment think that however down I may be feeling, bring yourself up, pull yourself together, pick up the books of Prabhupada, hear a lecture of your spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and you will again be reinstated very nicely. So any questions or reflections at this point from what we covered today? Okay, I have already a few reflections here. Devotees are thanking Yash and Sridham for their recitation. Thank you. I felt it is very kind reminder for me. Nitai Mata is saying Srimad Bhagavatam 11.29.9. Thank you very much for sharing, Divya. Thank you, Nitai Mata. I felt I got so many reminders today when I read it. So, and when I read this verse, which I was going to prepare, I I felt even more sort of excited that it connected so well with what we are trying to discuss in the Bhagavad Gita verse. So any other, before anybody leaves, I just wanted to request devotees that please, now Srila Prabhupada Marathon is officially started. We are entering the month of December. This is the month where people drop everything all over ISKCON and try to help expand this knowledge in a very rigorous way. We at Bhaktivedanta Manor try to do this throughout the year, but especially in the world, because the focus is there, energy is there, the devotees are coming together. So I humbly invite all of you that please join us to recite a chapter of Bhagavad Gita at 3:15 tomorrow, where we will discuss some more of this nectar if we can tomorrow from this beautiful conversation. In fact, I'll be interested to hear some of your reflections once you finish your reading. So if you all can do this reading, and then join me at 3:15, that'll be nice. And after that, at 4 o'clock, we're going to have a contact calling session where we're just going to call one or two friends and tell them what we heard about the Bhagavad Gita and request them to take a box for themselves and gift it to their friends. If not, they can sponsor some. So please do not hesitate. Just come on the call. If you don't even want to call somebody, just hear others, how they are calling and what kind of realization. So many devotees are feeling excitement when they come for these calls. So I have few other reflections. Uh, Yes, Leeladhar, Prabhu, please read the 1 minute statement by His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. I'm dying to hear, Prabhu. Please unmute yourself and hear, and let us all hear it. While Prabhu is unmuting himself, Divya Gaurangi Mataji is saying, Prabhuji, thank you
Okay,
for.
can you hear me now,
I could
Prabhuji?
only join it.
Can you hear now?
Yes, we can hear you, Leeladhar,
Okay,
Prabhu.
shall I carry on?
Absolutely, Prabhu. Dying to
Sorry,
hear from
please
you.
bear with me because as I said, I'm 79-year-old man and
Not
I'm
at all.
very, very slow, you see. So
Not at all,
anyway,
Prabhu.
because I'm so happy that I've been part of this wonderful group focusing on book distribution, especially during this Bhishma Panchak and, Kartik month. So quickly on 27th November, which is today's date, I have this calendar of Bhakti Maharaj. So sometimes I read it every day. So it is in connection with the same important message of book distribution.
Jai.
So Maharaj says on 27th November 1993, which is a message for a magazine called Spiritual Connection, which was initially distributed in UK and then eventually in Ujjain. So Maharaj is saying, Srila Prabhupada's books are the most sophisticated weapon in our war against Maya. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's soldiers, it is our duty to become expert in using these weapons and distribute as many as we possibly can. Therefore, study Srila Prabhupada's books, understand them, preach from them, and distribute them. So this is what you are doing already, and you are inspiring me, your group. I've seen you, Prabhuji, like I told you last time. So thank you very much for being able to be part of this wonderful group. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Leela Prabhu. That was an icing on the cake. The cake was the Uddhava Gita and a beautiful conversation between Krishna and Uddhava. But what we had was an icing on the cake from you, because His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj is an emblem of pure devotional service. He only spent an year serving Srila Prabhupada closely, but each moment after that, he lived such an exemplary life, dedicating his every minute to the service of Srila Prabhupada. So I'm very grateful. On a very opportune moment, you have inspired me today that I'm on the right track. And I strongly believe, Prabhu, having read very tiny bit of Srila Prabhupada books, anybody who's trying to sincerely read Prabhupada books, even a little bit every day, he or she cannot think but how to share this nectar with others. That's how simple I see it. It's just not possible that you read it and put it aside and carry on with your duties. Naturally, one will start to think, what I've read, how can I share it with others? And I mean, people do not know what's happening, and more so right now in COVID-19.
Right.
And that's why devotees all over the world are coming with this ingenious ways of distributing Prabhupada books online. One may be thinking, Prabhu, we are coming, people are sponsoring. Each of these books are going to be placed in a prisons, hospital, care homes in a very systematic way. There is a sticker going in each book giving us the contact details so people can get in touch with us.
Right.
And we are going to share a video very soon with all of you with different projects. It's going to come out in a couple of days, and you'll be able to see how wonderful this campaign is going to be. And yeah, I can't wait. December is a great month. I look forward to this month. But thank you so much for sharing that, Leela.
Jai, thank you very much, Prabhuji. Jai.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, let's hear some more. Divya Gaurangi Mataji is thanking. Thank you, Mataji. I know you could join in late. That's all right. By donating Lakshmi, is it counted towards one's book distribution? What a question you asked me, Puja Mataji. So let me give you an answer, which a devotee, a very empowered disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj gave. It is Radhe Shyam Prabhu from ISKCON Pune, who we are going to have a good fortune to hear very soon, in a week's time, by the way. So keep your seatbelts fastened. We have managed to connect with Radhe Shyam Prabhu, and he's going to give us his association on the Zoom next week.
Jai, wonderful.
So Radhe Shyam Prabhu said, when you are going to somebody to knock their door or call them, say that I need money so I can distribute spiritual knowledge to the world. Do you know what Radhe Shyam Prabhu's answer? He says, it's like standing with a burning fire pit in your hand. Because the fire pit is in your hands are not burning, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is acting like a wire medium in between. And that fire pit is called Sankirtan Yagya. And when somebody puts 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 10 pence, 1 pence, whatever that person is putting, he's putting that money in the best possible yagya he or even his 7 generations up or down could have ever imagined. And by giving that donation for the sake of spreading the spiritual knowledge, Prabhupada has clearly said there is no better charity than to give it for the spreading of Krishna consciousness movement. That's why in this COVID, I feel the sponsorship is the way to go. People have money, and the more they give, the better it is for their purification, actually. So that's my answer to your question. I hope that's helpful, Puja Mataji. Hema Mataji is saying chapter 11 is a very special. Bhakti Charu Maharaj's last discourse was Uddhav Gita. I heard this chapter last from Maharaj. Oh, Krishna. Look, another beautiful, there's nothing called coincidence, but it's all arrangement of Krishna. Somehow I felt inspired by the help of another devotee, and today we're all relishing this chapter, relishing the nectar of Srila Prabhupada books. So how can we just end the meeting at Chad, carry on? Of course, we have to carry on our duties, don't get me wrong, but how can our mind and intelligence not think, what is it that I can do in my limited capacity? Can I, keep the books in my house? Can I call some people? Can I give some Lakshmi? What can I do? That's how our mind should automatically be thinking. So that's why I humbly invite you. There are, nearly 44 devotees on the call. You must be thinking, Divya Naam, every week he comes and he's saying, keep saying that contact calling. I don't know, what is he talking about, man? Get a grip in life and let us live peacefully. The reason I say this to you is that one thing is to have peace in life, but the other thing is to have bliss in life. So you want to choose whether you want to have peace or you want to have bliss. So I want to give a choice to all of you. And let me hear your messages before we're going to sing a Damodar Astakam now. But let me hear a message. Let me get a text message from you on the chat button. Do you want peace in life or you want bliss in life? So Divya Gaurangi Mataji wants bliss. Who else wants bliss? Hema Mataji definitely wants bliss. Bhagwati Mataji wants bliss. Satya Prabhu wants bliss. Santosh Mataji also wants bliss. Even Rupa Mataji wants bliss. She's not happy with... This is the problem for anybody who comes in Gaudiya Madhav Sampradaya. We can never be happy with peace. We are not up for Atmaram. We need Prema Pumarto Mahan. That's what we are aspiring for as a servant of the servant of the servant, million times removed of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We want love of God. And that you get, the more you distribute, the more you get. So I'm so glad all of you are after bliss and you're not satisfied with the peace. That's a great formula. So thank you, everybody. We're going to now have Damodar Astakam. Because we are not able to do this on this Saturday, but from next Saturday, we should be back in the evening session. Because Sachinandan Maharaj is giving his association tomorrow. So we don't get the opportunity to recite Damodar Astakam. So today we have Santosh Mataji, who would be very kindly reciting the Damodar Astakam for us. What we are going to do is, it's 8:45 now. Maybe I'm just conscious of the time. Let's read the translation. If we can have one devotee at a time, please unmute yourself and go for it. And then Santosh Mataji can do the recitation.
Shall I start, Prabhu?
Yes, please go ahead, Mataji.
To the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge, and bliss, whose shark-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine Ram of Gokula, who, due to the offense of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mother was churning into butter and then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from his swing, is quickly running from the wooden grinding mortar in fear of Mother Yashoda, but who has been caught from behind by her, who ran after him with greater speed. To that Supreme Lord Sri Damodara, I offer my humble obeisances.
Can I do number 2?
Go ahead, Mataji.
Seeing the whipping stick in his mother's hand, he's crying and rubbing his eyes again and again with his 2 lotus hands. His eyes are filled with fear, and the necklace of pearls around his neck, which is marked with 3 lines like the conch shell, is shaking because of his quick breathing due to crying. To this Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, whose belly is bound not with ropes, but with his mother's pure love, I offer my humble obeisances. Hare Krishna.
Can I read the next one, Prabhuji?
Yes, go ahead, Mataji.
By such childhood pastimes as this, he is drowning the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy and is revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence that he is only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbued with intimacy and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodara hundreds and hundreds of times. Thank you.
Can I read Prabhuji?
Yes, go ahead, Mataji.
O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for the boon of impersonal liberation, nor the highest liberation of eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon which may be obtained by executing the 9 processes of bhakti. O Lord, I simply wish that this form of yours as Bal Gopal in Vrindavan may ever be manifest in my heart, for what is the use to me of any other boon besides this?
Can I read Prabhuji?
Go ahead, Mataji.
O Lord, your lotus face, which is encircled by locks of soft black hair, is kissed again and again by Mother Yashoda, and your lips are reddish like the bimbo fruit. May this beautiful vision of yours, lotus face, be ever manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me. Hare Krishna.
Can I read Prabhuji?
Yes, please go ahead, Mataji.
O Supreme Godhead, I offer my obeisance unto you, O Damodara, O Ananta, O Vishnu, O Master, O my Lord. Be pleased upon me by showering your grace, your glance of mercy upon me. Deliver this poor ignorant fool who is immersed in an ocean of worldly sorrow and become visible to my eyes. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please go ahead, Mataji.
O Lord Damodara, just as the 2 sons of Kaurva, Maningriva and Nalkovera were delivered from the curse of Narada and made into great devotees by you in your form as a baby tied with rope to a wooden grinding mortar. In the same way, please give to me your own prema bhakti. I only long for this and have no desire for any kind of liberation. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Last but not the least, who wants to go for it?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I'll read that.
Okay, go ahead, Mataji.
Okay. O Lord Damodara, I first of all offer my obeisances to the brilliant, effulgent rope which binds your belly. I then offer my obeisances to your belly, which is the abode of the entire universe. I humbly bow down to the most beloved Srimati Radharani, and I offer all my obeisances to you, the Supreme Lord, whose display who displays
Unlimited pastimes.
unlimited pastimes. Jai Damodar Ji ki jai, Jai
Jai.
Yashoda
Thank you,
Mata ki
Mataji.
jai. Hare
Just
Krishna.
before we start, I'm just trying to remember, Prabhu, was it Prabhuji who shared us the quote of Bhakti Charu Maharaj? What's Prabhu's name? Sorry, is it Leeladhar Prabhu? Leeladhar Prabhu, can you take a picture of that and send it to me, please, that quote? If you don't mind. You have my number, Prabhu? Okay, if anybody has Leeladhar Prabhu's number, I'm sending my number on the chat button. I really would like to have that quote to be sent to me. If you can please ask Prabhu. Thank you. Okay, Santosh Mataji, over to you, and we will recite alongside with you behind the muted mics.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namamiswaram Satchit Anandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashodhabhiyolukala Davamanam Param Rastamatyanto Drutya Gopiya Rudhantam Muhurnetra Yugmam Rajantam Karam Bhojayugmena Satan Kanetram Muhusmasakam Patri Rekha Kakantha Stitha Graivam Damodaram Bhaktibadham Iti Draksvalilabhir Anandakunde Swagosam Nimajantam Akyapayantam Tadiyeshitageshu Bhaktarjitатvam Puna Prematastam Satavriti Vande Varam Deva Moksham Na Mokshavadim Va Na Chanyam Vraneham Vare Sadapiha Idam Te Vapurnatha Gopala Balam Sadha me manasya virastam kimane idham te mukham bojam atyanta nile vratam kuntale snigdha raktascha gopya muhuschumbitam bimba raktam dharam me manasya virastam alam lakshalabhe Namo Deva Damodarananta Vishnu Prasidha Prabho Dukha Jalabdimagnam Kripa Drishti Vrishyati Dinam Batanu Praneshamagnam Medhi Akshidrishya Kuveratmajau Baddha Murtaiva Yadvat Vaya mochitau bhakti bhajau kritau cha Tatha prema bhaktim swakam me prayacha Namokshe graho mesti damodare ha Namaste studhamne spuradipti dhamne Adiyodharayatha Vishwasya Dhamne Namo Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya Namo Nandalila Devaya Tubhyayam Namamiswaram Satchit Anandarupam लसत्कुन्दलं गोकुले भ्रजमानम् यशोधाभियोलुकालादभमानम् परं रस्तमत्यन्तो तृतीयगोपीया हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे जय राधा दामोदर राधा दामोदर राधा दामोदर श्री राधे जय यशोदा दामोदर यशोदा दामोदर यशोदा दामोदर यशोदा दामोदर जय सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय श्री जय राधा दामोदर की जय थैंक यू फॉर द अपॉर्चुनिटी प्रभु जी
Jai.
Thank you,
Haribol.
Satguru. That was very
Hari
good.
Bol. Hare
Haribol. Beautiful
That's
singing.
very nicely sung. So devotees, we would like to bid farewell to all of you tonight with the promise to meet at 3:15 tomorrow at the same place, Zoom cyberspace, as we get together. So please come together and don't forget the homework. We all should read. I'm going to read it again. The 11th canto, 29th chapter. It'll take you 45 minutes to 50 minutes to read the entire chapter, but it'll be worth an effort. I can assure you that. So I look forward to serving you all tomorrow and hearing from you what you have read and some of your revelations and reflections. Until then, please look after yourself and stay safe. Vanchakalpatarubhasha kripa sindhu bheva patitanam
Pavanebhyo
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो
Vaishnavebhyo
नमः
Namo Namah
Hare
Vaishnava.
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna
Prabhuji. Thank you,
Hare Krishna,
devotees. Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, everybody.
Divyanam Prabhuji.
Thank
Yes,
Is it
you.
Prabhuji.
possible, Divyanam Prabhuji, could you
Yes,
kindly do
Prabhuji.
me a favor just to make sure if you could text me your mobile number, please.
Where should I? I've just shared it on the text message, but Prabhu here, can you see the chat message here?
Let me see.
If you click on the chat, I'll send it to you directly, Prabhu. You will see it now coming to 07527424115. It's coming. It's come to you now privately. You can just share the quote with me. Take a picture of that quote and send it.
Is this the one ending with 115, right?
That's right, Prabhu. Yes.
Okay, okay. Wonderful.
So just
Jai.
just WhatsApp me that quote of Bhakti Charu
Sure,
Maharaj.
sure, I will. Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Prabhu.
much.
Hare
Jai.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you,
Hare
everybody.
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Nice
Thank you,
class.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Navneet
Hare
Chor Prabhu.
Krishna.
That's a
Hare
beautiful
Krishna.
name. Thank you so much. Hare
Navneet
Krishna.
and Kanya.
Yes, very nice. Hare Krishna.
Bhagavati Mataji Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Jai.
Jai.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Jai.
I might not be able to join you at 3:15, a little bit later probably.
No problem, Mataji. Join us in the mind, keep us in our heart, and then join us later. No problem. Thank you so much.